Now, you want to talk about passing a test? There will be guys tonight that are hoping to pass the test, really, for both the Falcons and Steelers, because real talk, a lot of those guys that make the practice squad for the Falcons or are looking to make a practice squad or have lasted for this long for the Falcons and even the Steelers, respectively, both of those teams' scouting departments are looking at those other teams to see, hey, there may be some guy over there who, hey, he didn't work out for the Steelers, but he may work out for the Falcons and vice versa. So a lot of eyes are still going to be pierced on what's going on tonight, especially because, like we told you guys in the intro, we have confirmation that the Steelers will be playing their starters. Now, we don't know which starters they're going to be playing, how long those starters are going to be playing, but they will have starters in. But there's word that for the Falcons, probably not going to see starters necessarily, which is fine, because Jarvis and I talked yesterday about some of the starters on our wish list, or some of those who are right on the cusp of starter that we would want to see. So now our question today, as we get ready to go down to the bins and check out this final preseason game, who maybe is on the fringe, on the cusp, maybe that guy who is kind of behind the scenes. I don't want to say third string, but I'm going to say third string, but who could really maybe contribute in situation, like situational football, or maybe on special teams. Give me a guy.
Wow. I have to go with Jalen Mayfield. Like I really feel like there is some high stakes going on tonight.
Yeah.
He's going to be a guy that I really feel like he has to go out and perform. And Aaron Freeman and I got a chance to talk about this in our preview on Locked On Falcons. By the way, go ahead and check that out. It is just some great stuff. Come on, people, y'all stop playing around. Get your life together. But I think that this is really huge for him because he was part of the inaugural draft class for Terry Fontenot and Arthur Smith. You know, at third round pick. You know, that's some draft capital. Like that is some serious draft capital. Like you look for some starting heavy rotational type guys in those slots. So I think now when you're going into the last game and we haven't heard that you have locked down this swing tackle spot, we are hearing other names like Josh Miles being inserted into the conversation, who was a journeyman around the league, a veteran guy, and even to the point where people are calling, and myself included, that, hey, you might need to pick up the phone and give a call to a vet, like who might be lurking around, may get cut because for salary reasons or what have you. Mm-hmm. So I think right now the stakes are really high for Jalen Mayfield because I think it's at the point now where, dude, do you want to make this team? Like that's the type of play that he's going to have. That's the type of opportunity I feel like he's facing tonight.
Yes, absolutely. And we look at players from that draft class and these first couple draft classes from Terry Fontenot and Arthur Smith. Of course, Frank, they departed ways, I believe, earlier this week with Frank Darby. So
yes,
they don't have a problem with parting ways with a guy. If, hey, we gave you shot after shot, we even tried to put you in different positions, like you said, with Jalen Mayfield, swing tackle with Frank Darby on special teams, and gave him an opportunity, and it just didn't quite work out. So, yeah, I think that's a good call on him being one of those bubble guys that's not so much because we did draft you or because you're a journeyman or because you've been on the practice squad, but actually because we did draft you and we drafted you on what we could consider the high end, first through third rounder. You should have gotten to the point in place now where you've evolved to that next level. And I don't know that they're seeing what they need to see, but hopefully for his sake, they'll see what they need to see. Now, speaking of looking kind of down the chart, if you will, I would like to see, because he's actually been a name that we've continued to hear out of training camp and even into preseason, and that's DeMarcco Hellams. I think that he is just really, and we've had a little eye on him for a minute, even like reading the scouting report right after the draft, because it's like, he might be one of those sneaky ones like Grady Jarrett. And I'm not suggesting Pro Bowler, like, oh yeah, I'm just telling you out of the gates, he's going to be a future Pro Bowler. But my point being, there are guys. Tyler Algier was your sneaky late round pick from last year that was sneaky good. And Grady, of course, takes you back 8 or 9 years, but still sneaky good. DeMarcco Hellams, couple picks during the preseason and things that you have seen out there, the fast and physicality that this team is really looking for, the versatility where, hey, they may swing him into the linebacker core or they may swing him out to special teams. And we've seen some guys as well go out to special teams and kind of find their way. And that's how they've been able to make their way up the chart. And we know that Michael Walker's gone, but I believe he might be one example of that, where they kind of put him in some different positions to say, hey, let's see where it is that he might thrive. But yeah, I'll have my eye on DeMarcco Hellams tonight too.
Yeah, that's a good call, T, because when I got a chance to talk to DeMarcco back in the spring, and like one of the things that he credits to, being where he is right now is Nick Saban. And we know how Nick Saban, had moonlighted in the NFL. He didn't do too well, but when you talking about going to a particular school and knowing that you're going to get that training,
right,
that training that everybody wants to be able to go to that next level, like Nick Saban is that guy. He definitely credited his to like where he is and his knowledge of the game and his acumen and everything like that. He credited that to Nick Saban because he feel like he prepared him to get to this level. And when you think about like Arthur Smith, one thing people got to understand about Arthur Smith, like he just doesn't randomly mention people's names.
Right.
When he mentioned people's names, he is for a reason. It's people that have caught his eye.
Right.
Yeah. Yes. He like people have caught his eye. And one of the things that I really feel like that stood out, that Arthur Smith said about him, he's like, he's the guy that when the lights come on, he's gonna ball. And when you think about week in and week out in Alabama in the SEC, going out there and performing, and this dude was a 7th round draft pick, T. So like there was it was some downfalls to his game. Yeah. But when you get out on that field, like from what I've seen, I know from what you've seen, like I wanna see more of DeMarcco because like we know Ryan Nielsen, as many weapons as he can deploy in that defense, that multiple look defense. I think the better because like you can get really creative with a guy like DeMarcco Hellams because hey, they don't call him the hitman for nothing.
Exactly, and that's something to where when you start hearing coaches talking about a safety like he's a linebacker because of the way he hits and how physical he is, that's a compliment. That's a high compliment as well. That also says, hey, you and your versatility, that's what Arthur Smith is always looking for. Now, when we look across the bigger picture, let's go offense and defense, if you will, in terms of the overall picture and even the whole team, Jarvis. Like when we walk away from this third game, observing what is it that we want to see or not see from the offense, the defense, and then the team overall.
I think big picture overall, I want to see this offense be efficient, regardless of the numbers out there on the field. I want them to be able to get into the end zone. I want to see what that red zone look like. Like you say, that low red zone. Once they get into that low red zone, like what are you going to do? Like let's get this ball. Let's get 6 points. And I think from defensively, I want to see the quarterback on the ground. Like I don't care who does it. It can be a guy that's not going to even make the squad. I just want to see somebody in a Falcons uniform put the quarterback on the ground. And hopefully it's the 51-47. Like obviously I'm biased. I want to see those guys get home. So I really feel like, if I can see the quarterback go on the ground and I can see that offense get into the end zone, once they get into that low red zone area, I'll be good to go.
Yeah, I would say the same. For me, all I want to see offensively is just a little bit of something here and there. Doesn't have just a little flash in the red zone.
Yes.
I don't really care what you show me. Just show me in the red zone. And if you happen to be on that O-line, I need to see you at least compete in the trenches. I know it may not be great because if the Steelers start their defensive front, their starters, hey, I understand. You're not
That's even better.
To be able to do anything magnificent. But all we're asking you to do is just hang with them. If you stay the course and hang with them, we're good. Same thing on defense. If you see that offensive line, because we know the Steelers have always had a solid O-line, except 1 or 2 years under Ben Roethlisberger. But anyway, outside of those couple years, they've always had a good O-line. So again, if you just stay the course with your defensive front, especially, or if they have Kenny Pickett out there for a minute, that might be DeMarcco Hellams' time too, but something like that. Hey, because what else have we talked about, Jarvis? We've talked about turnovers and how that's an area where the Falcons have got to have an uptick on defense this year in order to really compete with the quality teams that are upper echelon. So yeah, if we can maybe see that. And then overall, before we wrap up, I would say this, and this is just not for the Falcons, not just for the Steelers, but you really just hope for this all the way around the league. But you want to see the Falcons walk away with essentially a clean sheet, no major injuries of any kind, so that when it's time to rock will come September 10th, they are ready with a 53-man squad that is fully healthy and ready to rock and roll against the Panthers at the Benz.
Absolutely. Agreed. Those are some of the things that, Obviously, we want to see the teams go out there and compete, but at the end of the day, like we want these teams to go into game one, like you said, with a clean sheet and a clean bill of health.
Indeed. What are you guys looking for tonight on offense, on defense, special teams? Maybe you do want to see a little something on special teams. What about that individual player who you say is on the bubble in your mind? Want to see that guy? Let us know. Don't forget to put a comment in the chat. We'll actually be watching the comments because, hey, we'll be at the game real time and we want to react to what maybe you guys want us to take a look at someone tonight that you want us to take a look at tomorrow. So drop a note in the chat on YouTube. And of course, check out ATL Day Ones wherever you get your podcasts.